Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go!
I liked video games since I was a kid. My parents got me my first console when I was 8. I remember staying up late playing racing games with my dad on weekend nights. Gaming became our thing, a special bond between us. After he passed away last year from cancer, I decided to buy a Nintendo Switch as a way to feel connected to him. I saved up from my warehouse shifts for 3 months. I put aside €50 each week until I had enough. The day I could finally afford it felt like a small victory. I wanted accessories to make the setup perfect, something my dad would have appreciated. Germany has this big electronics store with everything for gaming. The store has bright lights and wide aisles that smell like new plastic and metal. I bought a monitor there earlier that week after comparing prices for days. The customer service was decent then, nothing special but no problems either. I went back on Saturday morning when the store just opened. I wore a red t-shirt with Japanese characters my cousin brought from Tokyo and black skinny jeans. The shirt was special to me because the characters meant warrior spirit, something my dad always said I had. While looking at Nintendo stuff, an old lady came up to me. She had silver hair and a neat bun and kind eyes behind round glasses. She asked where to find Steam cards for her grandson who was turning 12 next week. I told her they were by the registers with different amounts to pick from. I mentioned the €50 card was probably best for a kid that age. She thanked me and said she asked because I was young and no workers were around. She reminded me of my grandmother who always tried to understand my gaming hobby. After she left, I went back to looking for a Switch case. The store was getting busier as more people came in for weekend shopping. I picked up a black case with the Nintendo logo when I heard someone clear their throat. A woman in her mid-50s stood there with short red hair and glasses. Her clothes looked expensive and her nails were freshly done in bright red. She held a piece of paper and asked where to find the X Gaming Pro monitor. I recognized the model because I researched it for 2 weeks before buying mine. I told her I knew where it was since I bought one 3 hours ago. They weren't in the normal monitor section because of a discount. The 20% off sale was ending that day. She said she knew about the discount and that's why she came. I showed her to the right aisle and pointed at the monitor boxes. The monitors were stacked on the bottom shelf in the corner of the gaming section. She looked at the box, then back at me with a demanding expression. She told me she had back problems and I needed to carry it to checkout in her car. She didn't say please or thank you, just made a demand like I owed her something. I didn't realize she thought I worked there until that moment. I said I could help after finishing my shopping, but suggested she ask a real employee. Her fake smile disappeared right away like a switch was flipped. She asked if I was just being lazy. When I asked what she meant, she said I was disgusting for pretending not to work there. Her voice got louder, drawing attention from nearby shoppers. I told her again that I didn't work there and just helped because I knew where the monitor was. I even pointed out that employees wore black polos with the store logo, not red t-shirts. She said she saw me help the old lady and wanted to speak to my manager, suddenly screaming. People started looking our way, some pulling out phones to record. I got nervous since I hate confrontation, something I inherited from my dad. I tried explaining about my shirt, asking how she could think it was the store name in Japanese. My hands started shaking as her voice got even louder. She screamed that I wouldn't get out of this and called for help like I was attacking her. A few people backed away, creating a small circle around us. I called her insane and walked away, hoping distance would solve the problem. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. I wanted to get away from her and finish shopping, maybe find a store employee to help. Before I could leave, she grabbed me with one arm around my neck and her other hand on my throat. Her nails dug into my skin, leaving small crescent marks. She smelled like alcohol, probably Prosecco, at 10:30 in the morning. Her grip was strong for someone her age, fueled by entitlement and rage. I panicked and fought to get free, my survival instinct kicking in. My elbow hit her face by accident as I twisted away from her grip. I heard a crunching sound when my elbow connected with her nose. She let go and screamed louder than before, attracting even more attention. Her nose started bleeding and she fell to the floor dramatically, like in a bad movie. Blood dripped onto the clean white floor tiles, creating a small puddle. I started crying even though I know it's embarrassing for a big guy like me. I'm 191 centimeters tall and weigh 110 kilograms, mostly muscle from warehouse work. My dad always said it was okay for men to cry, but I still felt ashamed doing it in public. The stress was too much and I broke down, tears streaming down my face uncontrollably. Store workers and customers gathered around us, forming a crowd of shocked faces. A security guard pushed through the crowd, looking confused at the scene. The soccer mom told them I was her co-worker who punched her nose and attacked her when she asked for help. She added that I was new and probably on drugs, making up wild accusations. Through tears, I said I didn't work there. She grabbed me, and I panicked. My voice cracked as I tried to explain what happened to the security guard. I felt bad about hurting her even though she attacked first, something my dad taught me about responsibility. When I tried to check if she was okay, she scratched my face with her nails. She caught my lip and made it bleed, adding a new wave of pain. The scratch burned like fire across my face, leaving 3 red lines. We were both bleeding, me crying, her screaming accusations to anyone who would listen. The manager, a tall man in his 40s, separated us into different rooms to wait for police. They put me in a small office with metal filing cabinets and a desk covered in papers. They gave me tissues for my lip and told me to wait, locking the door behind them. The police took 25 minutes to arrive, during which I sat alone with my thoughts. I called my roommate to tell him what happened, but he didn't answer. The police took my statement but gave me dirty looks like I was lying. One officer, a short man with a thick mustache, wrote notes while frowning. They whispered to each other and made me feel like I was in trouble. My lip kept bleeding through multiple tissues, staining my shirt with small red dots. I couldn't stop crying, which probably made me look guilty in their eyes. I was afraid of being arrested even though she attacked me first. Images of my dad's disappointed face flashed through my mind. After 45 minutes, the police came back with the soccer mom in handcuffs. Her makeup was smeared across her face, and her expensive outfit was wrinkled. They said they watched the security video and my story was completely true. My reaction was self-defense after she attacked, which the cameras clearly showed. They apologized for doubting me, which surprised me after their earlier attitude. They were arresting her anyway because she threw her phone at an employee's face while waiting. The employee needed 3 stitches above his eye where the phone's corner hit him. She was still hurting innocent people after everything that happened. When they asked if I wanted to press charges, I said yes without hesitation. I don't like causing trouble, but she attacked me for no reason except entitlement. The officer handed me a card with a case number and told me they'd be in touch. It was one of the worst days ever, even worse than when I broke my arm at 12. The court case took 6 months to start because German courts are slow. I received weekly updates from a victim advocate assigned to my case. During this time, I had nightmares about being grabbed and couldn't shop alone. My roommate had to come with me to stores for 2 months after the incident. I heard she spent a night in jail, which makes me happy despite feeling guilty about it. A store worker later told me she had caused problems before at multiple locations. She was known for being rude and making crazy demands to employees across the city. The store banned her from all their locations after reviewing her history of incidents. I never got the Switch case I was looking at when everything started. I ordered it online instead since I didn't want to go back to that store for a while. My first court appearance was terrifying, seeing her again across the room. She pleaded not guilty despite the video evidence, claiming temporary insanity. The judge didn't buy it and ordered a psychiatric evaluation. 3 months later, she was found guilty of assault and sentenced to community service. She also had to pay a fine of 1,500 euros and take anger management classes. The store employee she hit with the phone sued her separately and won. I finally bought my Nintendo Switch and played the racing games my dad and I loved. Sometimes while playing, I feel like he's sitting next to me, just like when I was a kid. The electronics store gave me a gift card for 300 euros as an apology. I used it to buy games that remind me of times with my dad. At least I have a story to tell, even if thinking about it still makes me anxious. My therapist says talking about it helps, so I share it when people ask about entitled people stories. I'm more careful around strangers now, always aware that normal situations can turn dangerous. But I still help people when they ask directions, refusing to let one bad experience change who I am. A little backstory about me: I'm a painter. Not a house painter, but someone who paints on canvases. I paint landscapes, and only landscapes, and I've been doing it for a few years now. I get my paints from a hobby store that has just about everything. It's a known local store that changed hands in the last couple of years. I spend hours every day in my little studio at home, which is just a corner of our garage that my wife let me take over. I've gotten good over the years, even sold a few pieces at the local farmer's market. Nothing that'll make me rich, but enough to fund my hobby at least. I like my brushes. A good landscape needs variety. Fine detail brushes for tree branches, broader ones for skies, and special brushes for textures like mountains or water. The hobby store has a decent selection, and I know the owner well. On the day this story is about, I was in my cargo shorts, which I wear year-round, even when there's snow outside, tennis shoes, and a nice pullover shirt, like a t-shirt with a collar. Oh, and I'm like 60-ish. I hadn't had a haircut in months and hadn't shaved in like a week, so I was scruffy looking. Think a clean homeless guy with clean clothes, and my wife makes sure I don't leave the house looking messy. I'm a messy painter, and I get paint on my clothes, so I change into something clean before leaving the house. I was looking at brushes on an end cap when this woman cleared her throat. I get stuff in my throat too, so my brain ignored the sound, and I moved aside in case I was in the way. Again came that throaty sound. This time I looked and saw a woman, maybe 5'2", with a short fake blonde haircut, a cart with plastic plant foam bricks in it, and raised eyebrows. The uniform here is black pants and a store polo shirt, and every employee has a black apron except for management. It's a big store, and the only one nearby, so it has no competition. Cheaper prices are in the big city, but that's 2 hours away, and the gas makes it not worth it. Now the scene play out like this. I asked her if something was wrong with her throat. She told me nothing was wrong with her throat, but with me standing there instead of helping customers. I saw she was the type I'd heard about and said she thought I worked there. She said of course I worked there, she saw me there all the time. I told her I'm there because I shop there. She claimed she saw me get an employee discount, so she knew I worked there and I should help her find her stuff. I smiled and asked about this stuff, suggesting maybe she needed to go to Stuff Mart. I almost laughed seeing her confused face try to figure out if Stuff Mart was real. She waved her hand and told me to help her now. I looked at my shorts and said, even if I did work there, I wasn't in uniform, so it must be my day off. I asked why I should help on my day off. She yelled that I should help because I worked there and stomped her foot. I asked if workers don't get days off. She yelled that she'd get me fired if I didn't help right that minute. Then she demanded to see my manager. I heard shoes clicking across the floor and knew help was coming. I picked up a brush and told her it was a paintbrush with fine natural bristles that bring paintings to life. She stared with her mouth open. She stomped again and asked what I was talking about and told me to find her things. This happened just as the assistant manager and manager walked up. I asked where her things might be. The assistant manager asked what was happening. The woman started complaining that I wouldn't help her, was rude, and attacked her with a paintbrush. She wanted me fired for being stupid and said there should be laws against stupid people having jobs. She wanted free items for dealing with me. She claimed to know the owner who would fire everyone. The assistant manager looked at me and tried not to laugh. The manager, in her 40s but looking 20, walked to me and joked that if I stayed after work, we might go on a date. The woman stepped back from her cart. The assistant manager walked away trying not to laugh. I agreed to the date, seeing the look in the manager's eyes. The woman screamed like she was seeing a murder. She wanted someone to call the owner right now. She said this behavior wouldn't be allowed and she'd have us fired. The manager hugged me and the woman hopped around stomping her feet. The cashier and assistant manager came over. The assistant manager with a store phone saying she was calling the owner. The woman grabbed the phone and ran in circles waiting for the call. Then the manager's phone rang. The manager told me to wait there. She answered while looking at the woman. She said she was both manager and owner, and I was her husband. She told the woman she didn't want her business, didn't want her in the store, and didn't want her money. She banned anyone rude to employees. She would call police if the woman didn't leave. She explained I got a discount because she was the owner and could give discounts to anyone. The woman didn't believe this. She said the manager just called her own phone and still wanted the real owner. The manager asked if they were called yet, and the assistant manager said they were coming. After a minute of the woman stomping, 2 officers came around the aisle. They knew the manager and assistant manager from getting things for their wives. They rushed the woman when she threw the phone at me, hitting my chest. These big officers put handcuffs on her easily. One took her outside and the manager just wanted her banned. The police didn't ask if I wanted to press charges because they know my wife. The manager decides everything. I told her she could be a vixen when she wanted. She said nobody messes with her husband except her. That's how my wife of 30 years handled this woman who thought I worked at our store. Yes, we own it now. We bought it 2 years ago when the owner retired. My wife runs it while I paint in the back room when not at home, and I get the family discount. The woman had been in our store often, always rude, but never mistook me for an employee before. My wife wanted to ban her for months. The woman tried to fight the ban, claiming to be a valued customer, but the police saw her assault me, so the ban stayed. I still wear my cargo shorts year-round and look like a clean homeless person browsing brushes. Sometimes customers still think I work there, but none went as far as her. My wife threatens to make me wear the uniform, but that would ruin my fun. I found the perfect brush that day and painted one of my best landscapes, a sunset over mountains that sold at the next farmer's market. I wonder if the woman ever sees my paintings around town and knows who painted them. Probably not. Such people only notice themselves. I started at Widgets International 5 years ago in their order entry department. I was excited about the job because it paid $20 an hour, which was $5 more than my previous position. My responsibilities were straightforward. Widgets come in for repair, I type them up in our system and send them along. Each widget has a serial number, customer information, and a description of what's wrong with it. I process about 75 widgets daily. When I first started, my trainer showed me all the steps of the process. One step required flagging certain repairs for quality review if the complaint seemed significant. My trainer mentioned this was important but didn't explain the criteria for flagging. During my first month, I read through each complaint carefully. I flagged 3 orders that mentioned safety concerns. One morning at 9:15 a.m., my supervisor called me into their office. They told me I was flagging too many orders. I was confused since I had only flagged 3 out of about 2,000 orders. My supervisor explained something nobody had bothered to tell me during training. Quality review screens and pre-flags all the repairs they want to look at before they reach our department. If I flagged an order they already flagged, I was wasting my time. If I flagged an order they decided they didn't need to see, I was wasting their time. This made the whole flagging process seem pointless, so I stopped flagging orders completely. 6 months into the job, our supervisor got promoted. We got a new manager named Karen. Karen had transferred from another division and had 0 experience with our department. She was determined to prove herself. During her first week, she shadowed each of us to learn our process. When she shadowed me, she noticed I skipped the flagging step. She asked why I wasn't following protocol. I explained what my previous supervisor told me. Karen didn't believe me. She scheduled a department meeting for the next day at 2 p.m. At the meeting, Karen announced several improvements to our workflow. Her main focus was that we needed to flag more orders for quality review. My coworker Dave tried backing me up, mentioning he also stopped flagging orders years ago. Karen dismissed him too. She insisted we follow the written procedure regardless of what previous managers had said. The next morning, Karen emailed the department with specific flagging criteria. Any order mentioning malfunction, damage, or customer dissatisfaction needed flagging. This would mean flagging about 30% of all orders. We had no choice but to comply. For 2 weeks, we flagged orders according to Karen's criteria. The quality review department was 3 floors up from us. I had friends who worked there and would eat lunch with them occasionally. They told me their department was drowning in flagged orders. Their manager was furious. Their backlog grew from 50 widgets to over 500. Processing times increased from 2 days to 8 days. Customers began calling to complain about repair delays. Exactly 14 days after implementing Karen's improvement, she called another meeting. She looked frustrated. Karen told us the quality review department head had called her that morning. They were overwhelmed with the volume of flagged orders. Karen tried spinning this as a success, saying we had uncovered inefficiencies in the quality review process, but she still told us to stop flagging so many orders. I went back to not flagging anything. Everything returned to normal. Karen never mentioned flagging again. She moved on to other improvements that created similar problems in other departments. After 6 months, Karen got transferred to another division. Our department operated smoothly for about 2 years. During this time, Widgets International expanded its operations. Our department grew from 8 people to 15. With the expansion came a new manager named Jerk. Jerk had 20 years of management experience but was new to our company. He was hired specifically to whip our department into shape after the expansion. Jerk was the type of manager who believed in strict adherence to written procedures. He called his first department meeting at 8 a.m. on a Monday. During this meeting, he reviewed every step of our process. When he got to the flagging step, he noted that none of us were flagging orders. One of the newer employees explained, "We were told not to flag orders because quality review handles that themselves." Jerk asked who gave that instruction. The employee looked at me since I was the most senior person in the department. I explained our history with flagging and how quality review pre-screens orders. Jerk didn't believe me. He said our procedure manual clearly stated we should flag orders with significant complaints. He accused us of being lazy. Jerk implemented a new policy that required everyone to flag at least 15% of their orders. He warned that he would be monitoring our compliance. The newer employees were scared of Jerk and began flagging orders immediately. Some were flagging nearly 50% of their orders to stay on his good side. The more experienced employees knew what would happen. During lunch, we placed bets on how long before quality review complained. I bet exactly 1 week. My coworker Susan bet 3 days. Another colleague bet 10 days. I continued processing orders without flagging any of them. My daily widget count was higher than everyone else's because I skipped this unnecessary step. Exactly 7 days later, Jerk called an emergency meeting at 3:30 p.m. He looked angry. He announced that the head of quality review had contacted both him and his boss about the flood of flagged orders. Jerk projected our flagging statistics on the screen. Everyone had flagged between 20 and 50% of their orders, except me. My stats showed 0 flagged orders. Jerk pointed this out to everyone, and instead of reprimanding me, he told the team they should follow my example. After the meeting, several new employees came to my desk. They wanted to know how I knew this would happen. I explained this was the 3rd time I'd seen this exact scenario play out. One asked if I was worried about ignoring Jerk's instructions. I said it's difficult to punish someone for being right. The following week, something unexpected happened. Jerk came to my desk with the head of quality review. The head of quality review thanked me for understanding their process. She said I was the only one in order entry who seemed to get how things worked. They wanted me to join a new committee focused on updating the company's outdated procedure manuals. I would get a temporary promotion and a $5 per hour raise during the committee assignment. The committee discovered that many departments had similar problems with outdated procedures. We spent 3 months revising manuals across the company. We removed redundant steps and clarified interdepartmental processes. When the committee finished, the head of quality review offered me a permanent position in their new process improvement team. The position came with a salary of $70,000 per year, nearly $20,000 more than I made in order entry. I accepted immediately. In my new role, I helped implement a digital flagging system that automatically identified orders needing review. This eliminated the manual flagging step completely. Processing times decreased by 30% across all departments. Jerk was eventually moved to a different division after multiple complaints about his management style. Karen, ironically, ended up working under me when she applied for a position in process improvement. She didn't recognize me at first. When she realized who I was, she tried to take credit for discovering the flagging issue years ago. I just smiled and assigned her to update the procedure manuals for the janitorial department. And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.